Thank you. All right, thank you so much. So to begin with, I want to ask you a very important question. How do I look today? Handsome, that's a really good word. I'm feeling confident enough now. So over the past few weeks, I have been reflecting upon many cases of minority thoughts along the history of human, like Copernicus believing the Earth orbiting around the sun, Columbus discovering the New World, or we call it the America today, and Steve Jobs insisting to create a phone without those plastic keyboards known today as iPhone, and so on and so on. There are a lot of examples for this. And I've been kept asking myself questions like, what are those thoughts held by the minority? And do they contain any values in it? And why are the majority thoughts and minority thoughts always in a conflict? And what would I personally do if I find myself to be among the minority thought group under certain circumstances? And today I want to answer all those questions with 3 real-life examples. The first issue I want to talk about, you're going to like it, is the divorce of Wang Baoqiang and Ma Rong several months ago. And I know that at first it may seem only to be one among thousands of gossips online, but the comments is actually where things get a little bit more interesting. For example, if we say you randomly go to a web page that reports this news and you scroll all the way down to the bottom to the comment area, you'll find 10 or 20 or even more than that amount of comments that's harshly and even very harshly criticizing Ma Rong for her disloyalty with all those bad words and rude words. They may say that she's stupid, she's irresponsible, or even she's a swine. But if you go to the next 4 or 5 pages, you'll find some comments that's longer, that shows a more complete evaluation on the issue that's more detailed. They may say that Wang Baoqiang himself may also be partly responsible for the divorce. And it is apparent that the first comment is the majority, and the second type is the minority, because the second type are usually appear on the later pages. They're less popular. They have the less amount of likes. What I'm trying to get here is that in a lot of situations, the minority thoughts tend to have more personal thinking than the minority thoughts. And the reason could possibly be that most of the people tend to follow the trend, to act like how most other people act, and to think like how most other people think. And to purely imitate others' ideas and to purely imitate others' opinions does not require that much amount of personal thinking to the process than to develop a own personal point of view. And another great example for this is that only one day after the Brexit referendum in the UK, the top search on Google in the UK was, "What is Brexit?" Now, can anybody spot a flaw in this logic? The majority of the people in the UK voted to support Brexit, while at the same time, very few members of them has any idea of what Brexit is at all. Then how could they possibly do that? Some might say that I only carry 1 vote, and that's not decisive, so I ask everybody around me. I ask all the friends I know, and everybody I know voted to support Brexit, so I voted yes as well. And this could be a completely irresponsible manner to vote for such an important decision that your nation is about to make. There's nothing wrong to be like the majority, to think like how most other people think, and to act like how most other people act, because it's safer. But it is indeed necessary for us to giving our own personal thinking to the issue itself before we truly decide to stand with the majority or the minority. That's the first story. And the second thing I want to share is that something I will call it an elevator phenomenon. That is to consider you walking into an elevator that's full of people, and after the gate is closed, you realize that everybody around you seem to know each other, and they're starting to chat loudly. And naturally, you'll feel depressed, nervous, a little bit anxious, and even a tiny little bit of afraid. Because after all, you're the one who know nobody in the elevator. You're the one who cannot blend into the conversation. You're the one who has no idea of what they are talking about, and you're the one who are somehow isolated. And in this case, those who are traveling with their friends are the majority, and you are definitely the minority. And naturally, the majority suppresses the minority to make the minority feel uncomfortable. It's just like consider yourself as a tiny human standing in front of a huge dinosaur. You naturally will feel afraid, fearful, nervous, anxious, uncomfortable, uneasy, because a large dinosaur is a way larger creature than you, and very ugly, by the way. But what I'm trying to get is that it's not always so easy to stand in front of a huge group of people to to disagree with a huge group of people and to develop your own ideas. But this does not mean that there's no way for the majority of people to avoid suppressing the minority. Actually, I believe it is the right thing for those who belong to the majority to try their best to avoid suppressing the minority group thoughts, because after all, it may be one day in the future for those who belong to the majority group today to be among the minority group and to be suppressed for the next time. It may be for those who are traveling in an elevator alone with their friends this time to travel alone next time and to feel uncomfortable. For example, there are some existing parking spaces that's specially designed for the disabled, and there are also some existing organizations that aims to teach the elders to use smartphones. And the third issue I want to talk about is quite controversial. It's about some internet companies in China recently listing the LGBT group as the so-called dirty and obscene content online. Although there are some preservationists on the internet who are saying that we should be passionate, we should give our people time to let them accept new thoughts, we should look forward to the future. But I was also really, really glad and moved to see a lot of people who belong to the LGBT group, who belong to the minority, to stand up for themselves and to speak out loud for themselves, to defend their own sexual preference. And this is a quote from a comment under this topic online. And it was like, I'm a lesbian, and sorry to be late, but I'm really happy to be here to declare my sexual preference to the world. And I'm introducing my girlfriend to my parents, and they're going to like it. This is a direct translation from Chinese to English. Actually, when I was talking to one of our teachers here at QDHS, Miss Youyi, about this, and she was like, hey, Eric, do you really understand how much courage it would take this woman to tell her parents that she's a lesbian? And I was like, yeah, suppose I do. And she was like, hey, Eric, are your parents okay with you having a girlfriend at school? And I was like, yeah, why? And she was like, consider this situation. You have a girlfriend at school, and you're making her pregnant. And that's you're telling that to your parents, and that's the amount of courage that would take that woman to tell her parents that she's a lesbian. I know that I'm talking as an outside person. I'm not the person who actually experienced this myself. But I was really, really glad to see so much people who belong to the minority group to stick to their guns, to defend their own sexual preference, to pick up so much courage. And I believe that as long as the minority group dares to speak out loud for themselves, dares to defend their own points of view, and the scale of minority thoughts and majority thoughts can always be evenly weighted. So, in short, at last, after all those things I've talked about, we should always know that the minority thoughts has their value, are worth protecting. And if we truly, truly find ourselves to be among the minority thought group under certain circumstances, we should always stand up proudly and confidently to defend our own points of view. That's it. Thank you very much.